for January 15th. Do you want to do a roll call? Chief Goldstein?
Here.
Rick Suppler?
Here.
Director Grace Harvey?
Here.
Director Bobby Smith?
Here.
Myself, Director Tibergen. Mark Cool. I know who he is. It's the hardest part. And Rick Ragland is also here. If everybody would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can say something on the record that the filing for the road director candidates have closed as of 5 o'clock tonight. Very well.
All right, so in the approval process for our minutes tonight, Chief, I think we're going to, at your request and Rick's request, we're going to move him up in the agenda.
Yes, he asked me if moved up to the agenda. Great.
All right, so I make a motion to approve the agenda with Rick going next, and then we'll follow in order. Everybody in agreement on that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rick?
Oh, very good.
The show's all yours.
Happy New Year,
You're
everyone.
on.
Yeah,
Good
you
to see
too.
everyone. Thank you so much. So let's turn into the financial statement grid we look at each month on page number 2. Okay, page number 2.
Yeah, everybody's got copies to hand out. I didn't get an electronic copy to put up
Yeah,
on
it was,
the case.
Yeah, the K-line, I told Chairman of mine. All right, so here we are. You can see December 31st, we're 1.61% over budget. So what does that mean in dollars? Every 1% is about $32,000. So the district wound up about $52,000 over budget for 2018. Take a look at last year. You can see we were 2.52, roughly about 81,000 over. 2016, we were 1.96 over, roughly about 63,000. And then in 2015, you can see we were 3.53% under, which was roughly about 114,000. So again, better than the last 2 years, trending to the right direction. You can see all year we started to trending down. We just never did get there. So let's find out why. Turn a few pages. Let's go to page 7. Normally we're on page 6, but 7 gives us all the answers we're looking at. It has not only the percents to the far right, but also the dollars where we exceeded the budget. So let's talk about column 3. First column is 12 months, 2018. Second column is the budget for 18 approved by the board in December of 2017. And then we look at the third column, the differences. Tax dollars, 600,000, 280 more. So again, keep in mind, for the most part, that's not new tax money. What that represents is the number of tax checks we received. This year we got 4 checks in the month of December. So it's more timing of receipts versus new additional income. So I want to make sure everybody realizes that. But then we go down, you can see interest. Now this is the change in banks going to St. Louis Bank, and the great job being done by the chief to ladder the money with St. Louis Bank. We only budgeted 9, we brought in $50,070, $41,070 more than what was expected. Miscellaneous, again, that would be more sale of fixed asset. You can see that did not occur. So when you look at that $45,000 difference, but for the most part, the true real number in additional revenue is at $41,070. The rest, again, just timing of receipts. So now let's go down on the expense side. We're only going to talk about those that went over. First one, advertising. You can see that's the marketing. Those are the coloring books, the handouts to the kids, things of that nature. We wound up spending $3,437 more than we appropriated for budget 18. Building maintenance, not to be unexpected. We're going to see this from time to time. $1,761 more than we appropriated. Next column, dues and subscriptions, $1,301 more than appropriated. Equipment and vehicle maintenance, again, not to be unexpected from time to time, given the size of the equipment, $12,891 more. than we appropriated. And the big one, of course, is right here, insurance employee. So again, this is $80,661 more than appropriated, and it's pretty close to the number we've talked about most of the year. We discussed it in budget. This is about where we anticipated being here as of 12/31. Payroll taxes, $1,959 more than we appropriated. Professional fees, $8,609 more than appropriated. Salaries and wages, you can see $9,962 more. Salaries overtime wound up being $21,350 more. You had training and education, $587 more. Uniforms, $13,230 more. And then our utilities, keep in mind, we had a hotter than expected summer and a colder than expected winter, and here we go again, so we'll see what happens, but $3,335 more than we appropriated. So when you look at it, you can see on the expense side, $51,831 is the number we exceeded the dollars appropriated for budget year 2018. So if you look on page 8, this is the new EMS fund. So just keep that in mind, this new, you're gonna see this in the packet every month. Those are the new dollars that came in, $282,023, because the chief was so quick in getting the account. You can see we already earned $21 in just a very short period of time. But again, looking after the district and its finances, he did a great job on that. Turn a few pages to page 13. We've already looked at the budget now, 12 months compared to the budget. Now we're going to do comparing the first 12 months, column 1, to the first 12 months of last year. So now we get a historical approach, what transpired. Tax dollars above, $340,580 more. But keep in mind, it's difference between tax letters and timing between the number per year. So not really new tax dollars. Just so everybody understands, doesn't equal more income for the district. Then we look down, building permits this year, we're down $20,860 compared to last year. Look at the difference in the laddering of the CDRs and the money for the district. Chief was allowed to bring in $40,676 more this year using St. Louis Bank. In the past years, if you recall, we had the other banks that weren't producing for the most part for the district. And then miscellaneous. Keep in mind that normally sale fixed assets, $104,042 less. Didn't have the repeat of a huge sale for the district. So let's look down on the expense side. Didn't have an election in 2018, saved the district $46,150. Equipment and vehicle maintenance, we talked about going over, but compared to the year before, we actually saved. We had less expenses, $26,709. Talked about being $80,000 over budget on insurance employee. Compared to the year before, we actually spent $45,032 more than we did the year before. Workers' comp was the big issue here. Insurance general, $32,470 more than the year before. Professional fees, we talked about going over, but compared to the year before, we actually spent less, $25,055 less than the year before. Look at salary and wages, $25,197 more than what we spent the year before. Salaries overtime, again, we spent more, $22,358 more this year compared to last year. We look down below, uniforms, $14,011 more this year compared to last year. And then utilities, look at the difference, $16,296 more this year compared to last year. So when you sum all of that up, we talked about being $51,000 over budget. Compared to last year, we wound up spending $71,768. So when you look at the net is not as substantial as you'd think, given what's transpiring. The big difference, if you look at it, just add those two columns together. It's called insurance. $45,000 and $32,000, that equals your difference right there. So again, a lot of this is items out of our control. Utilities, gas, insurance, these things, unfortunately, we have no control over. So had those things been equal to the year before, you would have been spending about the same as you did the year before, unfortunately, with the increases that cost the district. So if you go to the next page, this is the key. So here's what's transpiring, page 14. This is our reserves. So let's walk through and see what you've got. You can see the money's in the bank account. I've got the new EMS account. sitting there, didn't have it last year, so you can see that. And then you look at remaining 18, that's dollars that came in 2018 that relate to budget 19. So you gotta back out that $1,000,007. So the district reserve, you can see is right there, $3,771,155. So what does that mean? You could probably just take that entire amount, put it in a 6-month CDR, and we won't even need it, because of the fact that we're in a position where we're not budgeting a deficit. For next year, we're budgeting a surplus. So we should be able to put that in a 6-month CDR, if the board would like, and not even have to worry about it, because we'll be in great shape. So it's something to consider doing with St. Louis Bank, and that'll produce even more interest than we had this year. So what is that? Winds up being roughly about 14 months worth of expenses. Last year, when we ended the year, we had about roughly 12. So again, you're building up the reserve, which is important for the district, given what's transpiring with the assessments here, and other items. So on page 15, this talks about interest rates, and you can see status quo. So we'll see what transpires. That just keeps you informed what's going on there. Page 16, St. Louis Bank, good bank, but again, we've got to do due diligence. We've got enough in the bank. We need to make sure it's solid. If anybody asks what kind of due diligence, you can see 3 different independent rating services. Page 17 gives you a lot more detail in regard to St. Louis Bank, so the board's kept informed and we can see what's transpiring. Again, all you got to do is read across A+, and B+. You know you've got a good bank, and that's what you want to see. Page 18 are the calls. So when it's all said and done, this justifies and gives the board the information regarding the ELS bumpers. If you look at December of this year, we ran 310 calls. Last year, same time, 258 calls. When you look at total calls this year, fire side, 1,520. On the EMS side, 1,768. Total calls, 3,288 calls. Last year, same time, fire, 1,521. EMS, 1,239. Total calls last year, 2,760 calls. So if you go down below, you'll see for the month of December, we ran 52 more calls. And then we look at year to date compared to last year. We talked about running 1,520 fire calls compared to 1,521 the year before. We ran 1 less fire call than the year before. A lot of consistency. But the big difference is sitting where? EMS. That's the ELS bumper. This year we ran 1,768. Last year, 1,239. So for the residents, that was 529 more EMS calls. But again, not to be unexpected. This is the trend we're saying throughout St. Louis County. Total calls net, 528 more calls this year compared to last year. So the district had a great year. When you look at the fact that we're 51,000, that's going to happen. You're going to see that from time to time. The fact that you only spent 71,000 more than the year before, given all that's transpiring with fuel prices and everything else, that is a good year. So from a standpoint of calls and what's transpired and the amount of runs that you guys have as a district, you guys had a phenomenal year for December. Goal, of course, for next year, let's stay on budget, try to get as close as we can to the year before on expenses. I think we're going to accomplish that in certain areas, especially in insurance, health insurance, which has been, in my opinion, out of control, but again, out of everybody's control here at the district.
So Rick, on our reserve report
Sure.
to
Yep.
myself and Stacy, we do have 2 seaters going. We split that reserve money in half. One's a 12-month seaters and one's 6. So every 6 months it comes around, she looks at it and says,
Sure.
do you want to reinvest? And that's when I call. And
Yeah, and I just keep them at 6 for now,
Yeah.
as with the next one comes in, only because they anticipate rate increases. So I would just say if we stay at 6 months, there's a good chance we're gonna see higher rates than we would have if we locked in for a year. A couple of years ago, locking in for a year was perfect because the fact rates weren't even changing, but now they're changing. So what I would do is just wait to see, because by the end of next year, they're anticipating over 3%. Right now, a 6 month is 2.6. So it's almost 0.5% of interest that we'll receive more, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it starts to add up, and I think it's in the best interest of the district. But again, that'll be up to the chief and what the rates are at the time with
Yeah.
Stacy.
When is it, do you know off the top of your head when it comes up? The
we
first
just
one
had
comes
one
up?
just came up January 1st, and she went ahead and rolled that. That's when, or it was a little after January we talked, and she went ahead and rolled that for 6, and then there's
Okay.
another one comes up in July.
Okay.
So it's 6 and 6,
Okay.
it just
Yeah.
keeps rolling.
Yep.
So she'll contact me like end of June and say, you wanna roll it again for another 6, and this is what you made, and I call Rick, we talk, and
Yeah.
Fantastic. Anyone from the board have anything for Rick?
I don't, good.
Chief? Thank you, sir.
Great,
Thanks.
great leadership, you guys did a great job, appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve, December's financials.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
It's acceptable, if I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for,
Anybody that needs anything, let me know. You guys have a good one, we'll see you next month. Thanks.
okay, make a motion to approve, last week's meeting minutes.
I got,
Something to adjust?
yeah,
Oh.
there was, just one section in here that says, okay, one thing, says teachers plan that we still need, it should be our district, I'm sorry, I didn't call it.
Chief, explain that,
Some of the citizen comment,
you still need,
instead of or.
Thanks, Rick.
Chief,
Yeah, also, as far as my part of the conversation, I don't know if you missed my basic point, it was that we were getting to 3,000 and we accept the 1,000, and what I actually said was that I would rather get the 1,000 than get nothing at all.
right, you said you had 3,000, you guys negotiated 3,000.
Right.
And from 3,000 down to 1,000 per month.
Well, this says that, I said that we should get something in return, I don't know if I said that, but I know I said that we should get the 1,000 instead of nothing at all, since we weren't gonna refuse to answer any of that call. And, I did say pretty much the same thing that you said there. Director Smith said that we are running calls in the area and we should get something in return. So it's pretty much the same difference, I guess, but.
I don't see where you're.
All right, so let me.
How would you like to reword it?
Let me outline the discrepancy. He's talking about, under citizens' comments, Director Smith explained that this issue has been ongoing since the takeover of the Jennings Fire Department, and that the previous board at the time, which Director Smith was part of, negotiated a smaller dollar amount down from 3,000 to 1,000 per month due to the city has no money, which is poor language in and of itself. Secondarily, Director Smith wants to amend. Director Smith said that we are running calls in the area and we should get something in return. So how would you like that to be?
Just say that we should get the 1,000 instead of, in lieu of the 3,000, because, we do deserve something, we deserve some monies for our effort. But I didn't say something, and not get anything.
Okay.
So what do you want to say, we should get 1,000?
Yeah, take the 1,000 instead of not getting anything.
And just add 1,000 there.
Right.
Okay. Secondarily, and you can make that amendment, I guess.
To your master copy?
Yeah.
To master copy. Chief Goldstein stated that we will continue to provide service regardless of money, but feels that this area should contribute the same way every other citizen contributes through tax dollars. So are you fine with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So that lays that.
Yeah, as long as it is understood that the point I was trying to make is that I would rather get the 1,000 than to let the guys go out and respond to it and we don't get anything.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, well, I was thinking 1,000, same in returns, same as 1,000, so I was
Okay.
saying 1,000.
Okay.
Right.
No problem.
So with that amendment.
That's easy, the front page.
Good.
Right. So we, motioning to approve the amended version of last week's minutes?
Yeah, I'll make that motion,
I'll
we
second.
approve the amended version.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
All right, Chief, consideration for this week's warrants and regular payroll.
So I have warrants totaling 52,408, 33,757.41 on communication dispatch, 8,186.04 from general revenue, 6,775.63 from local welfare, 3,689 from the pension, for a total of 52,408.08. And last week when we paid MoFad, I made a $20 mistake, so.
That's an issue with that.
Charge me 20. How much is that? I said 269 instead of 289, so that's in here. My fault. And I didn't have enough for me. And I also have regular.
Oh. You're right, they usually do that. I'm surprised. That's my problem. So they, I already invoiced her out. Okay. Did you guys have many calls over the weekend?
Did we? I know something down.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah, I heard it and saw it.
At one point, I was like, all is calm, all is bright, there's the snow, had everything so bright outside. And I was like, oh, everybody's gonna have at least a peaceful 12 hours of not moving, because no one was going anywhere, you know? Like everybody.
An hour Friday, you know.
Yeah. Right.
But,
Yeah.
what about your business? You got a call supposed to get.
Actually, I had,
Yeah.
There's no better
Two
Arctic
points?
push that's coming.
yeah,
Sunday is gonna be a bad one.
no.
You got the lanes down.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
Lanes down. That's nice. Supplementary to every, with all that stuff.
Right? Although Mr. Anthony's fault, so we got his truck stolen a couple weeks ago.
Sure did.
And they found it right over there.
You got one?
The police officer at the readers, with the cameras on their cars, right over with Shepley and Lilac over here. And they actually found it and covered it in Oh, because they just tried to steal this brand new truck, and he came out and confronted him.
Really nice.
That's what he said, the truck. And apparently somebody tipped him off, because then she hurried up and zipped up her hoodie and threw her hoodie up and started walking down the street real fast. Yeah, it's like crazy. I don't know, do you have a flooding ticket?
Nope.
Or is it impound?
No. I appreciate the help, but,
I feel like one of those line bikes, everybody's using it.
drop it off.
Oh.
I made the joke, Chief, that on the one weekend when everybody has a white SUV because of the snowfall, they're not gonna find my car.
Right. There was two of them for this month, we didn't, get
Yeah.
the one who we were off.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Gotcha. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
The
usually
exact
comes first
same
and-
amount.
Yeah, usually it's first and towards the end.
Okay. Have we made a payment for the new health insurance yet?
Not yet.
Okay. When's that coming? Okay.
I actually had to call Kevin today, so.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was looking at the board packet in the email. I was like, look that up yet, because.
That was for the JW report that they did for the state, that one.
What you thinking? No. Cool beans.
This is mayor.
For which one?
Thank you, Mama.
Travelers for, pension program.
Mm.
Did you get that in the mail? I didn't get mine. You should. But then again, I didn't get mine either at 8 o'clock at night. That's what I'm concerned about. What they spend on.
Oh, regular.
Where's the
I
line?
make a motion to approve the warrants and the regular payroll.
23% on social services, 22% on education. Shouldn't it be the
All in favor?
Yes, sir, thank you.
You're welcome.
Shouldn't it have been the opposite?
Skip that. Keep me on my toes.
On your toes.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Yes,
Motion
aye.
approved.
Motion approved.
All right, Chief, do we have anyone in the gallery wishing to speak with the board tonight?
Foreign claims, no one's signed.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Director, may I please ask for, a exception? I had not intended to ask a question, but I also wasn't prepared for the accountant's report. And may I ask a question about that?
Sure.
The question I have was the, two, and of course he can't answer, but the professional fees were $25,000 less this year. Does that mean that you guys, did not sign up for the same amount of professional organizations, or just were those dues just not due?
Can I answer that real quick? So remember how we switched attorneys? We had Frank Vatterat the year prior, and he billed an hourly rate. And when we took on Dan, we pay him a flat fee as a retainer, so that was the reduction in cost. Now, anything outside of the scope of service that Dan provides, like litigation, he charges for that. But
why primarily those reductions.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then my second question was regarding the utilities, and the accountant made comment about it being a exceptionally hot summer and a lot more colder winter. I know that, you all had talked about the possibility of someone doing some kind of, assessment, and whether or not there was going to be, you all were going to maybe, renovate a building, or, oh, and I didn't read far enough.
I was gonna beat you to it. We're waiting for our battalion chief to
Oh,
actually
that's it.
address that
Okay,
very issue.
all right,
So
okay.
yeah, we are still, that's all still in the works, basically, to
Okay,
help
then
reduce
that's
those
it.
costs and figure all that out.
Okay. Just let you know I'm paying attention.
Yes, you are. So you're good for the moment?
I'm good.
Excellent.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
reception.
All right, no correspondence or new business, unfinished business, chief?
Pension as always, and then, there is a pension meeting following this board meeting, so.
Yes.
And then, just real quick in pension, I would like to, talk to the board about taking the money that's sitting in the pension fund right now, putting it in a CDR, in a 3-month CDR, and at least look at that, see what kind of interest we can get return. Because it's already January, there's roughly $280,000 sitting in there right now
Yeah.
that we can make interest on. I don't wanna push it to 6 months, because until we kinda took this over, everybody was getting their money in May. Okay, so if I put it in a 6-month, it's already the 15th, we couldn't even start it until June 15th.
Right.
So I don't wanna push it back that far, but if we could at least investigate what a 3-month would get us, I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
You gonna put a hound on that?
Yeah.
Excellent. Dan?
He's
Sure.
like, okay.
No, I mean,
Whatever.
I think it's time to start looking
No,
at you
because
guys, because here's the thing,
especially
we
with those-
cleaned up a lot of stuff from last year, and it took a long time to do it. Now, as you guys, we pay out for the drop, everything that's coming in on the back end of that should be invested to where it's making money, you know?
Right.
Well, not to mention, look at all the fees that were spent having to clean all that up.
Right.
So hopefully, some of that money that the CDRs make can recoup some of those fees that were spent.
And just
I
keep
don't
in
know what
mind,
a 3-month will pay, but every little
I
bit
mean,
helps,
over
you know?
time, I'm not saying, obviously it's not gonna make that up immediately, but over time is the
and
key.
just keep in mind to keep a few dollars in that fund for professional service fees to pay out, so.
And we still have money coming in every month, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no,
Other than that, I'd just like to have the meeting
Yeah.
after.
great idea. All right, we'll try to get to that as quickly as possible. Anything from the board tonight?
I don't have anything.
I had something that escapes me. It couldn't have been that important. No ordinances, resolutions, chief, your report, sir.
I emailed the board copies of the battalion chiefs and, my agreements, so I'd like to table that till next week, and maybe you guys can take a look at that. Dan will be back next week, and he helped author both
Sounds
sides of it, so if we can just, like I said, I emailed it to you guys in just in case you don't have it, so.
Great.
And then the last thing is, I opened a meeting by saying that the filing has closed. There's 6 people that have filed, 4 for the 6-year term and 2 for the 2-year term. After this meeting, I'll be putting everything together. Tomorrow, I'll be hand delivering it to the Board of Election and wait for them to send me copies of what's gonna be on the ballot, so that's it.
Chief, just one question, one thing, the battalion chiefs, agreement with them is there any way we can see what, any of the other departments in our neighborhood are doing in this area?
As far as what
As
you
far
wanna
as
say.
agreements with the battalion chiefs, do they have the same type of agreement, or is there something?
Yeah, the only
else
thing,
that they use, or?
yeah, a lot of them, because we looked at them, me and Chief Seppel looked at a few of them and sat with Dan, and some of them, Dan works with those districts also, but a lot of it is their chief negotiates for the battalion chiefs, their wages and benefits and everything like that. And that's what I did when we started off with the battalion chiefs, was negotiated, but they're not looking for me to be their negotiator. I mean, we're looking to accept whatever the shop gets, Right, we're willing to just
Is that
piggyback on that.
customarily what the other departments, I mean, the other 5 districts are doing, or whatever?
Yeah, like Blackjack's battalion chiefs are in the bargaining unit, so they automatically get what the union negotiates for them. Like I said, Floris's battalion chief, or their chief negotiates. Pattonville's battalion chiefs aren't in the union, and their chief negotiates for them too, so. Like I said, I think we put a good package together, myself and Chief Sepple for battalion chiefs and,
So is what you guys negotiate pretty close to what you guys think it ought to be, or is that, we out of line on anything, is it?
I don't think so, Chief, do you? I mean, we put their, job description in their agreement, so, at least they have something that they're working on, and there's some protection for the battalion chiefs since they're not in the actual bargaining unit, anymore, so there's some protection. That's what we were looking for, is protection for.
Sure.
For both sides, myself and the battalion chief, so. Does that answer?
Well, somewhat, I'm just
I mean,
trying to figure out, if that is, do the battalion chiefs customarily feel that they need some protection for some reason or another, is that just?
Well, it's just customary that, you got your union firefighters are under an agreement, and the battalion chiefs are under agreement, and this is customary that we see going on now in our business, so. We'll put these guys under these things,
Because they're not part of the union?
Correct,
What makes them not part of the union?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't, because
why not?
here's the thing. Back when the firefighters joined the union, they had to go through an election process through the State Board of Mediation. In that State Board of Mediation, it states who is in the bargaining unit. Firefighters, captains. To bring the State Board of Mediation back in here to add the battalion chiefs would be a complete nightmare, because you have a whole election process. So the district vice president of Mark's bargaining unit said, let's just put them under their own agreement, right, Mark? And not bring the state back in here to try to.
And that's a per district thing?
What's that?
Each
District
has its
has
own.
their own sanction through the state.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Some species are part of the union, some are
Right,
not.
so like, when I worked at Blackjack, when we joined the union, our battalion chiefs were mentioned in the State Board of Mediation. So, they're in the bargaining unit. Other districts that came back and decided to put battalion chiefs in like we did, instead of going back to the state board and having a whole new election process, they just left them out and negotiate with the chiefs and our, the board of directors, so.
Gotcha.
And on its face, I mean, you see anything problematic with that?
No, I just
structure.
think that, we need to at least address them and talk about why they're not protected off, with the rest of the guys anyway.
It's because they're not sanctioned through the state board.
Yeah, I got that now, but, we've never just talked about it or anything, and we just got to.
So, yeah, so basically they've just been, since they got promoted, they've just been
Floating.
on good faith.
Pretty much, so, yeah, I appreciate the.
I mean, this wasn't easy. I mean, we spent how many hours at Dan's office, chief? 5 hours, I think? Working on this thing, so.
Just so you know, we still, the guys in the back chiefs here pay full dues. We pay as much as the guys do here. We just can't get representation from them. So if anything happened here to one of us, or what have you, if we would come up against a lawsuit or something like that, the union can't represent us. We do that out of good faith for the guys here to show them that we support them, but literally, we don't get nothing from the union. If we have to do that, we have to have our own contract, because I can't go to the union and say, something has happened to me, I get no representation from the union. That's why we want our own contract, if that makes sense.
That's not problematic then, that you almost donate to the
Pretty much.
union.
Pretty much.
That's.
Pretty much.
Okay. I don't know, okay, as long as it's not a problem and it's been checked out and everything, and you guys are not gonna get pounded with the toenails or anything. No, seriously.
Like I said, Dan will be here next week and can also speak on behalf of all those other districts that have battalion chiefs that are on their own agreement and stuff like that.
Will we, we as directors will do our diligence, in
Absolutely.
overlooking those documents. I really appreciate you, by the way, forwarding that electronically.
No problem.
Without those, so. And with that, chief, anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, great. So right on time, with Miss Wanda's, question, Rick?
We had Amerisco come out for you guys in December and talked a little bit about the project at House Free.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all stemmed from back when our utility bills were getting crazy out of line, and Ms. Harvey wanted us to look into possible options. And so that's what we did. And they came out, they met you guys, and I've been talking with Dave. And with the holidays coming, we pushed off, you guys remember, right? I came in before you said maybe we could meet with them again after the first of the year and maybe start really rolling up our sleeves if that's the direction the board wants to go.
Right.
As far as rehabbing House 3. And here it is, the first year is the 15th. And I talked to Dave this week, and I was wondering if you wanted me to schedule another meeting where Dave came out and answered any questions you had. I kind of considered the first meeting more of a meet and greet. This is who we have looking at it. We showed you what the possible floor plan could be. Mr. Timbergen said that, you know, like, kind of like the Cadillac, that's where you start. We can always negotiate down or whatever, some of the stuff. And so at this point, I was wondering if you wanted me to get them to come out before you again. And if so, if you had any questions you've been thinking about that you would like them to address. I brought some of my cards, so you guys can all have. If you have any questions for them, if you could email them to me, I could forward them to Dave. That way they could have some answers for you before they came out, rather than you present them with the questions here that night.
Yeah.
And then say we have to
Rather
get
than be
back to you.
prepared. Yeah.
So I was hoping maybe over the next couple of weeks, if you had any questions, if you could forward them to my email, I will forward them to Dave. And then if you guys would like, I can get Amerisco out here before you. We can roll up our sleeves and we can see what we're gonna do. You know, again, totally what you guys think. I will say, I came back off a 4-day this morning. I wasn't here for the big snowstorm to find out that there's evidently 6 leaks in the roof at House 3 right now, in the engine bay. That's part of the problem, the ongoing problem we have, is the
How old
roof
is that roof?
situation, man, I couldn't tell you, that's a bad situation. It's my understanding that they had some work done to it about 15 years ago, not a total new roof, just
Right.
work to it. So, this is an ongoing situation where something's gonna have to be done, but, you know, what is what we gotta determine.
And I would suggest that when you guys have that next meeting, that you would bring in, Stacy with the bank and Rick Rod and our accountant, so that if there's figures being thrown around,
Sure.
and like I said, if we have to move one other direction right now to i.e. take an interest-only loan out through the bank till things, wherever we need to go. But I don't think we need to keep sitting on this building costing us money after money after money.
So,
Knowing that the bones are
I'll
still
just
there.
throw this out there, I mean, the presentation was great, I think we just need to get down to, I'd like to see, like you said, like, that's the Cadillac plan, the full bells and whistles. How about like a good, better, best situation, like, here's the things that must be done to just improve the building, make it more efficient, et cetera, et cetera. Here's, upgrading it, and you guys chime in if you want, and then here's, if we did everything the way they presented it, and then what does that realistically look like in dollars,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
right?
Mhm.
And I
So
think
what
that's
are
the
those
chief's
things?
asking, give them these
Right,
questions
what are
that
those
they're
items,
asking.
how much does that cost, at the bare bones, and then, I mean, is everybody in
Okay.
agreement here? I think that's what we
So-
need to know.
so
And
chiming
then-
in,
Yep,
I will chime in.
okay,
Um,
perfect.
When we look at this from a pragmatic, fiscally responsive vantage point, and we decide, and it's easy to do when we look at the numbers presented by them or another bidder. What we're gonna be confronted with is the cost associated with A, putting lipstick on a pig, or B, going the more intrusive route, which we all know, there's infrastructure there, there's tanks underground, there's asbestos considerations, there's all kinds of things with raising that building and completely knocking it down and starting over. We're gonna have to eventually appropriate A, the dollars associated, and B, the practical application of what it is. We are there now, right? That is that's our house and that's our territory. We've got to figure out, both on behalf of the taxpayers and our firefighters, what's really the best use. Because you saw the presentation that they gave that night. I mean, there's health issues with those guys even being in that building, right? So we need to get, again, and I appreciate your diligence, on this, but to entertain the idea that we can go in there with a low-dough proposal and kind of polish things up, and versus pretty much what the inevitable is. I'm not, and I don't want to sound like I'm coming from just let's level the place and start over again. If there's a better, if there's a more conducive way to handle this, but we should not remove that or keep that off the table. As part of the process, because it's certainly antiquated, and you can also do this from you just saw in our budget, the impact that we're having from energy inefficiencies there. It's costing the district and the taxpayers a lot of money too. So
well, and if we're looking at, in that respect, you're saying what does it look like to level it and start over? Then in that aspect, we need to look at the whole district as a whole, and if we're gonna build a brand new building, is there a better place to build it? Because that's on the very edge, that's on the edge of the city. Right?
Yeah. And so we can, for the sake of this meeting, we can put all those things into a pot and say, we're gonna cook this up when we do this again. Those are very serious issues that we need to look at, and it's a serious problem that we need to address. So by all means, I appreciate this. I want to get Dave and those guys.
With today being the 15th, if I gave you guys a week, the 22nd, is there any way that you could put that in an email to me that I could forward it to them? Oh. You're exactly what you just said there. I took notes, but I'd rather you guys go ahead and email it to me. That way I could print them and send them to Dave. Everything you've said here, and anything else that might come up. Does that make sense? Is a week enough time?
It is enough time, and I'll just second this with the fact that sending that email might redirect Dave in his approach to skinning this cat, right? Yeah. He might look at it through a different pair of glasses.
Yeah. This came from my board. These are some of the questions they got. I'm just trying to put it on a time frame. If I could get those emailed to me within a week, I will get those to Dave, and we can look for a meeting maybe mid-February. Does that sound right?
I love it. Thank you for staying. Yeah, I appreciate it.
You start?
Does that help, Ms. Wanda?
Yes, sir.
I got a question, right?
Yes.
Does that company you guys are using, do they do full-scale dubs, or do they just do renovations? Is that the
They're
question?
more of a renovation, but here's the thing, they are around enough of the field and stuff like this that they can pull up buildings that have been built approximately that size, what we're looking at, and give us, it would be ballpark, what a ballpark total tear down and build would be. And just so you guys know, because we got some firefighters here, and that's how word gets back to our guys. I've heard guys make comments, well, like our house too, we got that done for 1.8 million. If we can rebuild a firehouse for 1.8 million, why wouldn't we tear it down? You can't get that done nowadays for 1.8 million dollars. You're not even the right ballpark. All right, that was what, 10 years ago? 10, 11 years, yeah, 7, 8, 9 years ago. So I'm guessing that a building like House 2, to tear House 3 down and rebuild it, be closer to around 4. Because some people are thinking, it's like, well, heck, if we're gonna pay $1 million to renovate that place, why would we pay 1.5 to get its own new building? You're not in the right ballpark. So, but that would all come out. They can come up because they're in the construction industry. They can pull firehouses that have been built. Melville's done a couple of them. West County's done a couple modest ones. We don't want to show them. We don't want to show the board houses that have been built like Blackjack or Florissant, or Metro North. These crazy firehouses. I would bring you guys a firehouse that would be comparable to what we would build down there to let you guys get an idea of what you're looking for a tear down and a rebuild. Makes sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So they can just bring all those numbers to you.
They can come close.
Because my point with Rich, like Richie said,
Yeah.
I think you're gonna run into the major problems of we drop $1 million in a renovation, in 10 years the building's gonna have to be torn down and rebuilt anyway. Because I mean, how long does a building last? You, like you said, you can only paint a turd so long until eventually it's gonna have to be redone. Eventually those tanks underneath are gonna have to be replaced.
Director, weren't you always also considering a fundraising person who could help fundraise the money, is she gonna come and make a presentation too?
Yeah.
She, yeah, Tina Zimmerman with TNZ Consulting or Marketing, I forget. Anyway, yeah, she talked about that she could do that for us. But I don't know that that would be the meeting, that this next meeting for her to be at this point in time, only because I think she would need to know after we go out to bid, or possibly, we have to get more.
I
Phone
think
in
once
the
we decide on
cost.
what direction we're going, what the
Yeah.
cost is gonna be, would be the time to bring her before the board and say, this is what we're looking at as far as costs. What part of that do you think you can get funded? And then the board has to take that compared to what her salary is.
And then we
And she
have-
comes with a pretty good salary, so.
Yeah,
And we have to pay her to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, again, there's,
How old is that building?
It was built in 66, right?
66.
66 paper.
66, I think it says on the.
Yeah.
And then my other question, I got two more questions to follow up with that. So, when's the other, we have a bond right now that we're paying, right? When's that gonna be paid off?
I wish Rick was here, cause there's 266,000 still in that bond, so.
Yeah.
So that's all that's left to pay that bond off?
Well, that's what we have left to spend. Yep.
you have to spin it down.
So how long, okay, but then how long to pay it off, I guess is what I'm asking.
I don't-
When's the payoff, do you
Yeah, I
know?
don't have that answer, Gene.
And then with the position that house is, what is that rating that, the
ISO.
Yeah, does that have the position of the firehouse have any, bearing on that
Yes.
rating?
It does.
What, can you
Well,
elaborate?
the way ISO rates, your fire stations have to be so many miles to your commercial areas.
That's what
And-
they worry about?
And, well, not only that, but, I mean, they worry about commercial areas, they worry about water supply coming to the area, plus they worry about your mutual aid companies coming in, so you put them in locations to where you can get your best bang for the buck. Like Northeast coming in to us and they could be there, within a mile or two of where they're coming from. St. Louis City coming in from a mile, us coming into Metro North and stuff like that, Spanish Lake coming in. So it's all based as a geographical layout is how you get your ISO points, so those fire stations need to be in some.
They have to be really close to where it's at. And actually, that's in a fairly decent area where it's at around there. It really meets a lot of our needs in the Jennings area. That's a pretty hot area.
Doesn't have to do with
down-
response times too. So I will add, just as an insurance person, agent, St. Louis City is an ISO of 2. The average in St. Louis County is mostly a 4. And like, Lake St. Louis, Wentzville, that's a 5, 6 area.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to do with the area, square miles served, and then how many fire stations they have, response times, all that. Just to kind of give you an idea. And once you start going more rural, you're like more in the 8, 9s, 10s.
Okay.
What?
The bigger numbers back.
Rick, I appreciate it. Anything else on your report, sir?
No, if you guys can get them to me, I'd really appreciate it, and then I'll get them to Dave, and then I'll come before you again to set up a meeting.
Fantastic.
For you guys.
Thanks so much for your efforts in that regard. I appreciate that. Mark, your report?
I'll try to be super quick here. Rick and I attended a meeting out at the academy today. It was on the human relations committees through the local and what we can do to better serve our community, for instance, the northern communities and the fire districts. So what we're coming down with is an incentive to get mentors, us, into these high schools, recruiting high school students from actually, along with their counselors, getting the high school students that are making the grades, showing interest in emergency services and mentoring them up through this program. What I really did like about it, and it's a lot more in depth, and I'll let the board see this email. What I liked about this program, right now it's set up some objectives with times for us to get into these schools and get some names back to this committee of students. That said, by February, they're hoping to have a literature distribution program along with a video, like a recruitment video that we can actually take into these high schools and say, look, this is what we do as emergency service workers. Are you interested? And if you are, and if you have the grades, this is the avenue. We will help, we will get you from point A to a job. here in North County. So that's the long and short of today's meeting. There's more to come, and that's what we did today.
Fantastic. As you know, I mean, that was something, you know, when I got involved in this district as a whole, very close to my heart, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, so now, you know, of course, there's a lot more to it with the funding and stuff, but we're working on it, and now the next step is to get in, talk to these counselors and to these superintendents, and set up some meetings and try to get a list of names, to actually do, in addition to the video, so we can recruit these individuals, but do a fire ops 101, which we hold for the board of directors throughout the county, to actually get these kids by June to do this 1 or 2 day class, so they get a feel of what our job is, and if they are interested, maybe give them that extra push towards it.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. All right, so we move to break up.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you, folks. Next week, January 22nd at 5 p.m. Same bad time, same budget.